Something unusual is happening inside American politics right now, and it's the kind of signal that veteran strategists immediately recognize as a warning sign. Not a poll, not a headline, not even a bad news cycle. The real alarm bell for any political party in power is when its own members start quietly heading for the exits. And that is exactly the pattern beginning to form inside the Republican Party as the 2026 midterm elections move closer. After more than 20 years serving in Congress, Republican Representative Darrell Issa has announced that he will not seek re-election. On the surface, it might sound like a routine retirement. Politicians step away all the time after long careers. But in Washington, context matters more than the announcement itself. And the context surrounding this decision is what has people across the political spectrum paying attention. Because Issa is not alone. Across Capitol Hill, a growing number of Republican lawmakers have already said they will not run again in the upcoming midterms. In total, dozens of members from the GOP side have chosen to step aside rather than fight for another term. Some are retiring entirely from politics, others are pursuing different offices or opportunities. But taken together, the pattern is hard to ignore. When large numbers of lawmakers from one party begin announcing their departures at the same time, political analysts tend to interpret it as something deeper than coincidence. In many cases, it reflects internal concerns about the direction of the party, worries about the upcoming election environment, or frustration with leadership dynamics behind closed doors. Right now, those concerns appear to be building within Republican ranks. The midterm elections in the United States have always been a challenging political battlefield. Historically, the party that holds the presidency tends to lose seats in Congress during midterms. It's almost a structural feature of American politics. Voters often use midterm elections as an opportunity to rebalance power or express dissatisfaction with the current administration. But what makes the current moment particularly interesting is the combination of factors unfolding at the same time. Political tension inside the Republican Party, shifting public opinion, economic anxiety, and international conflict shaping the national mood. Even some prominent conservative voices have begun acknowledging the risks ahead. Senator Rand Paul recently suggested that the upcoming elections could become extremely difficult for Republicans depending on several conditions. According to him, the biggest threat may not actually be internal divisions within the party, but economic pressure on voters. Rising energy prices, particularly oil and gasoline costs, have historically played a major role in shaping election outcomes. If fuel prices surge and remain high for an extended period, it tends to affect everyday Americans in a very personal way. Transportation costs rise, food prices increase due to shipping expenses, household budgets become tighter, and when people begin to feel that financial pressure week after week, it can quickly translate into political frustration. Paul pointed to another factor as well: ongoing military tensions involving Iran. He suggested that if American military activity escalates to the point where energy markets react strongly, oil prices could climb above $100 per barrel. That kind of spike would ripple through the entire economy and could create serious political consequences during an election year. Voters rarely separate economic pain from political leadership. Whether fair or not, the administration in power often gets blamed when gas prices jump dramatically. Meanwhile, election data from special races held earlier this year has started to attract attention from political strategists. Special elections are small, localized contests held outside the normal election calendar when a seat becomes vacant. While they don't always predict national trends perfectly, they can sometimes act as early indicators of voter mood. Recent special elections have shown Democratic candidates performing noticeably stronger than expected in several districts. In some cases, Democrats have improved their vote share significantly compared to results from the previous presidential election. Political analysts often compare these swings to historical patterns. And some observers say the current numbers resemble what happened during the election cycle leading up to 2018. Back then, Democrats were consistently outperforming expectations in special elections across multiple states. At the time, many analysts debated whether it was a temporary fluctuation or the beginning of a larger trend. By the time the midterms arrived, Democrats ended up gaining dozens of seats in the House of Representatives. California Representative Kevin Kiley revealed that he would register as an independent, rather than remain affiliated with the GOP. Moves like this are extremely rare in modern American politics. Party loyalty in Congress tends to be strong because party alignment determines committee assignments, leadership positions, and legislative influence. When a sitting member chooses to break away from their party identity, it sends a message that internal tensions may be deeper than the public realizes. In practical terms, the decision also affects the balance of power inside the House of Representatives. The Republican majority is already narrow, meaning every single vote can matter during major legislative battles. Losing even one reliable party vote can complicate the leadership's ability to pass bills or control debate. But beyond the immediate math of congressional voting, the symbolic impact might be even more important. When voters see politicians distancing themselves from their own party, it can reinforce the perception that something within that party is unstable or shifting. Some Republican lawmakers have privately expressed frustration with the current political climate in Washington, particularly regarding the relationship between Congress and the White House. According to several reports, morale among some members of the party has declined significantly over the past year. That frustration appears to be linked to multiple issues: legislative gridlock, internal disagreements about strategy, and the broader political style surrounding President Donald Trump. Trump's influence over the Republican Party remains enormous. His supporters remain fiercely loyal, and his political brand continues to shape the direction of the GOP in many ways. But at the same time, his leadership style and policy decisions have created intense debate both inside and outside the party. Public opinion polls suggest that Trump's approval ratings among independent voters have declined sharply in recent months. Independents are one of the most important voting blocs in American elections because they often decide competitive districts. When a candidate loses significant support among independent voters, it becomes much harder to win statewide or national races. Recent polling data indicates that Trump's approval rating among independents has dropped to one of the lowest levels recorded during his political career. A year earlier, he held a modest advantage within that group. Now, the numbers suggest he is deeply underwater with them. Political strategists view that kind of shift as extremely significant because independent voters frequently determine the outcome of swing districts during midterm elections. Another factor shaping the political environment is the economy. The American economy has been sending mixed signals. While certain indicators remain strong, other areas have begun to show signs of weakness. A recent jobs report showed one of the most concerning employment declines since the pandemic recovery period began. Whenever job losses begin to rise, political anxiety quickly follows. On top of that, rising fuel prices have started hitting drivers across the country. Much of the pressure comes from instability in the global oil market, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important shipping routes for oil in the world. A large percentage of global petroleum exports pass through that narrow stretch of water in Iran. When military tensions increase in the region, energy traders immediately react by raising prices due to the risk of supply disruption. In the past week alone, gasoline prices in parts of the United States have jumped by nearly 50 cents per gallon. For many families, that difference is noticeable immediately. Drivers filling their tanks have begun expressing frustration about the sudden spike in costs. Some say they are now spending hundreds of dollars every month just on fuel. For workers earning hourly wages, a single tank of gas can represent several hours of labor. That kind of financial pressure tends to create a powerful political reaction. Historically, rising gas prices have hurt the party controlling the White House, regardless of which party it happens to be. Voters may not always follow international energy markets closely, but they notice when the numbers on the gas station sign jump dramatically. At the same time, the administration's foreign policy decisions are under increasing scrutiny. The ongoing military operations involving Iran have raised questions about whether the United States could become more deeply involved in another prolonged conflict in the Middle East. Official statements emphasize that the country is not formally at war, but military actions and retaliatory strikes have kept tensions high. Critics argue that continued military escalation could further destabilize the region and worsen global energy disruptions. Supporters of the administration argue that the operations are necessary to protect American interests and maintain regional security. That debate is likely to intensify as the election season approaches. Meanwhile, Republican leadership faces the challenge of balancing internal party unity with the political realities of a difficult campaign environment. Some members of the party remain firmly aligned with Trump's agenda and messaging. Others believe the party may need to broaden its appeal to regain support among moderate voters and independents. This strategic disagreement is not new, but it has become more visible in recent months. Political parties often go through these internal debates when they face uncertain electoral terrain. The question is whether those disagreements remain behind closed doors or spill into public view. For now, the growing list of retirements and party shifts suggests that some Republican lawmakers may be preparing for a very competitive political battle ahead. Democrats, meanwhile, see an opportunity. With the House majority extremely narrow, even a small shift in seats could change the balance of power in Congress. If Democrats regain control of the House of Representatives, it would significantly alter the political landscape for the remainder of Trump's presidency. Control of the House determines which party leads congressional committees, sets the legislative agenda, and conducts oversight investigations. In practical terms, it would mean the administration facing far greater scrutiny from lawmakers. At the same time, others worry that the combination of economic stress, international conflict, and internal party tension may create a difficult environment to overcome. Ultimately, midterm elections often become a referendum on the current leadership. If voters feel optimistic about the direction of the country, they tend to reward the party in power. If they feel anxious, frustrated, or uncertain, they often use the ballot box to send a message. Right now, the signals coming from Washington suggest that both parties understand the stakes. Democrats are energized by the possibility of regaining congressional control. Republicans are preparing to defend a narrow majority while navigating complex political headwinds. And as more lawmakers quietly step away from re-election campaigns, the political chessboard continues shifting in ways that could define the next chapter of American politics. The real question is whether these early warning signs will translate into a major electoral shift when voters finally head to the polls. Because in American politics, departures are rarely just personal decisions. Sometimes they are the first clues that a larger political storm is forming.